Story 1. No matter how large your group of friends is, it will gradually shrink. People start families that demand their time. They move away to pursue careers or to be closer to their family. Their careers require more time and responsibility. Before long, your close friends become strangers, and you find it difficult to make new friends you trust as much as your old ones. Story 2. It does not matter how physically attractive you may be. If you do not reciprocate interest or make your own moves out of fear of emotional connection or social anxiety, in my experience, people will generally move on from you. Looks can get you all the infatuation you can stand, but looks alone are not enough to sustain a personal relationship. You need a personality, and you need to engage with someone else's personality. Likewise, using aloofness or an unflappable personality as a smokescreen or coping mechanism for social anxiety often serves to distance you further from interpersonal relationships. If relied on too much, it can make you seem smug and disinterested in other people, like you are annoyed by their presence. If it becomes an ingrained behavior, these kinds of reactions and responses can happen automatically without you being aware of the vibe you are giving off and shut down social interactions, potentially without you ever realizing the part you are playing in shutting it down. Most people typically do not want to get to know or hang out with a person who has a disinterested scowl on their face, regardless of what your actual emotions may be. Story 3. There is no real backup for me. If I stop being productive, either due to my job security or becoming disabled, I am in serious trouble. Story 4. The transition phase of life. I am going through it now. I am transitioning from being a full-time dad, coach, cook, tutor, taxi driver, and everything else dads do to my kids moving out of the house and not needing me anymore. It's kind of sad for me, especially when I see the Facebook memories and the road trips, sports, hiking, and activities we used to do. Now the boys are very busy with college and starting their careers. They still come over regularly, and I talk with each of them 3 to 4 times per week, but it's not the same as not feeling needed every single day. I guess it means that I raised good kids, but it's still a huge life transition, and I am struggling with it a lot. Story 5. For most men, it is the disappearance of friends and social life over decades. As you get older, you have more demands on your time, and you end up spending less time socializing until friendships fade away. Even if you are aware of it, you are unlikely to have time to do anything about it. By the time they retire, most men have only one true friend at most. Obviously, this is a generalization and depends a lot on what your career was, but there is a loneliness epidemic among the elderly. Story 6. Loneliness. All of my friends are married and cannot hang out as much. I can go out and be social, but that makes me a 40-year-old man talking to 20-year-olds. My girlfriend and I broke up. We were together for 11 years. Meeting someone now feels absolutely impossible. I spend the vast majority of my time alone. Story 7. There is nothing about me here. You might look around one day and realize that you have worked hard to ensure your wife and children are safe and happy, and the only one who has been neglected is you. I no longer wonder why men have a midlife crisis. They suppress their own identities to survive and ensure their family survives. It is also no surprise that men become overly proud and even antagonistic about their career because it is often the only thing that defines them. Be careful. Make sure you have a well-rounded life, care for yourself, take time to answer your own questions, and follow your own interests. Story 8. The older you get, the fewer people you have to turn to. Others may still reach out to you, but you will have fewer people to rely on when you need help. It is extremely isolating. Story 9. Redundancy in life makes the thrill fade, but you keep carrying on. My midlife crisis seems to revolve around the feeling that I have done everything. Life is still a blessing, but the excitement of being young and experiencing everything as new fades away. People will say to try new things, but usually, there is a reason you did not do those things in the first place. Story 10. It only takes one thing, which can be completely out of your control, to go wrong and cause your whole life to fall apart. Story 11. Bad health can come quickly. You can go from not having seen a doctor in a decade and feeling great to taking 7 prescriptions in a year. Story 12. The midlife crisis is real. It is grief for all the things you hope to be and to have in your youth that at around 40 years old you realize are not going to happen. Story 13. Some of your friends are not going to make it to 30. It is going to be tragic. It might be some avoidable foolish mistake. It might be some strange medical condition that emerges unexpectedly. They might just disappear or get involved in something harmful. Spend time with your friends while you can. Show them you love them and mean it. Story 14. Trading in your ideals for comfort and learning you are not as brave and adventurous as you thought you would be. Telling yourself that one day will be the day when you say forget them all and take that big gamble. But with every passing day you become more doubtful you will ever get there. Because what you really crave is security and a place to call home. You cannot have it all. Story 15. Seeing others get the help you so desperately need and knowing that if you asked for the same, you would just be victimized further. Story 16. Loss of friends. In younger years, there are many connections from school and sports. However, as people start partnering up and having children, those friendships often are not replaced. Many females tend to stay together in groups or keep in touch, but males usually bond more with those they interact with regularly, which is often just their partner. Once school and sports activities stop and work becomes the main focus, those friend groups dwindle. Isolation and loneliness can occur, even if there are other people around, when men do not get the same connection they were used to. Story 17. For me, it is grief. Family, friends, dogs passing away. I do not seem to bounce back from losing loved ones like I used to, but there is not really much to do about it other than miss them. Story 18. Most men go through a time in life when they realize they are on their own. When the chips are down, people do not care enough to help you. Once you get through that shock, you do not look for it anymore. Story 19. You learn to have no preferences about anything. Your physical pain impacting your mood will not be forgiven. The amount of financial security you have and can contribute is the only thing that matters in the long term. The way people treat you with and without money is completely different. Story 20. Mistakes as you get older become more costly. Adulthood means waking up to a bill or two being due every day. Working a job you do not like, regardless of salary, because the bills need to be paid or you have responsibilities to uphold. Loneliness can occur in both romantic and platonic relationships. People change, and those you believe will be in your life for a long time can end up leaving tomorrow with or without closure, so you just have to keep moving forward. Story 21. Suppressing feelings you have experienced over the years due to any kind of hardship is not healthy. Thinking that you can simply man up and move forward is misleading. You can only suppress those feelings for so long before they resurface or appear in a harmful way. These feelings can manifest as something emotionally harmful to you, emotionally harmful to others, or a combination of both. Story 22. The anhedonia after the rage of youth wears off. The utter indifference of the world towards people, indifference that can break someone who is not prepared. Many young people become hateful when they experience it firsthand. It is sad to see so much of myself in them. Hard work is not so bad. Keeps you distracted until it does not. But one day the aches will increase while the money stays the same. The realization that everyone is after material goods, and if you cannot keep up, you are a loser with no ambition. If you have what you need, though, you can ignore those people. They are chasing the ghost of happiness, running away from their own emptiness. Story 23. Your dad may not have had the tools to show he loves you. My dad suffered from having my grandfather as a dad. Neither was a bad person or a bad role model, but neither was able to pass on any knowledge about loving your family and friends. These men came from a line of suffering men who could do nothing as they watched their sons suffer the same fate they did. Rub your son's back. Hug him tight. Say, I love you. Mean it. We need fewer Andrew Tates in this world and more Mr. Rogerses. Story 24. I think many men silently struggle with the weight of past relationships, especially those that ended badly. Story 25. The people around you are going to make many bad decisions. There is nothing you can do about it, and if you care about them, it will hurt a lot. However, if you respond by not caring about anyone and hold yourself above their suffering, you will look back and realize you have lived a lonely, meaningless life. Choose one. Story 26. Late 50s here. One of the things that hits me the hardest is losing friends. I was prepared for the physical aches and pains of getting older, but not the emotional ones. When you are younger, you are celebrating weddings, births, and other milestones. Then it slowly becomes more funerals than anything else. Story 27. Physical pain. I beat the hell out of my body as a younger man in the army and more working in the trades. I used to scoff at using knee pads and now wish I did. Multiple orthopedic surgeries to fix damaged joints, and I am looking forward to having both hips replaced. Sarcasm implied. Constant ringing in my ears. I can't sleep without a fan and noise machine running in the background. Lung damage from exposure to various substances causes me to cough so hard that I throw up. I will be 40 later this year, and my body hurts. Guys, use good judgment and take care of yourselves. You won't always be invincible. As you get older, things are harder to fix, and recovery takes longer. Constant physical pain can and will make you unpleasant to be around. Be easy on your body and your liver. Drink more water, eat healthy. Wear a dust mask, wear hearing protection, and preserve yourself for the great parts of life. If you are 18 to 24 years old, take it from a somewhat older guy. Take care of yourself. Story 28. Being trapped in a career you hate because you have a family that depends on the income and top-tier health insurance that would be lost if you did anything else. Story 29. The burden of performance. Men are like the sun, expected to shine no matter what. Women are like the moon, expected to go through phases. Story 30. Dealing with grief. For real, it is okay to cry. Our brains want to do it for a reason. Do not let the thin veneer of society brainwash you into denying your basic emotional reactions and needs. That is where many anger management issues stem from. Story 31. Shoulder and elbow pain occur because no one has the time to undergo surgery to fix them. As we get older, injuries happen more often, and we simply endure the discomfort without complaining. Story 32. I don't know if this is just me, but genuinely not knowing what I want besides some basic things is driving me crazy. I know I want a beer after work, I want to continue losing weight, and I want to make my wife happy. However, I could leave my career in an instant without a care. I could be homeless or in a mansion and still not really care. All I really think I want to do is start hiking and never stop. Story 33. As a generally healthy, not overweight male, sleeping in the same bed as my wife is still not possible. A bad back requires an adjustable bed, and recently adding a continuous positive airway pressure machine has made sleeping a whole ordeal that I now have to plan and prepare for every night. Story 34. Maintaining and boosting others while receiving little or nothing in return. Those you support do not often reciprocate. Story 35. Happiness is not as easy as you thought it would be. Money comes with stress. Lack of money comes with stress. Marriage comes with stress. Children come with stress. Health comes with stress. All you can do is everything you can to keep living this way. Ultimately, you have to surround yourself with good people and take care of the ones you love. Story 36. Honestly, for me the biggest one was that I really underestimated how hard it would be to make a living. I thought if I got some skills and was willing to work an honest 40 hours, I would be fine. Turns out it is not that easy. It is a non-stop grind that takes the majority of my energy, time, and worry, and that is difficult. Story 37. Something I am suffering from now is watching everything break down and go away, including things I like, places with meaning to me, and my own body. For example, the things I love on YouTube are 17 years old now, and I read the comments and find out the creator died too early in his 50s, and I have outlived them. Or watching my parents decline even when they are still healthy. Story 38. How hollow life is without a purpose other than work, commitments, and the dramas we use as distractions to forget the futility of hoping for something more. An entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy things we don't need. We are the middle children of history. No purpose or place. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We have all been raised on television to believe that one day we would all be millionaires, movie gods, and rock stars. But we will not. And we are slowly learning that fact. And we are very, very angry. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. Story 39. You bear emotional weight because showing any of it would disrupt the current neutrality of the space. This is probably why grown men spend every moment of nothingness in enjoyment. Story 40. This is one of the best threads I have ever read on Reddit. There is a lot of collective knowledge and experience here that should be required reading for young men. Respect goes out to each and every one of you for making it through in the best way you know how. Story 41. The sadness and grief produced by life accumulate with time and become heavier as you get older. Making it through middle age without giving up is a challenge. It is important to recognize this and prepare by having a strong support system and healthy hobbies and interests. Story 42. It is similar to being younger but much harder with more pain. What kind? Yes. It also forces you to face your mortality and stress, especially when you have children. I worry about them all the time. Generally, it becomes harder as you lose your vigor. Story 43. Reading through these hit way harder than I expected. I'm only 20 and didn't think this kind of quiet wait was a thing yet. But now I'm seeing signs. Like how I already don't really open up to anyone unless I'm falling apart. And even then it feels like I'm being dramatic. Didn't realize how early that starts. It's crazy how so many older men just accepted that silence as normal. Definitely woke me up a bit. Story 44. You know how you were this shy, quiet kid in school, scared to talk to that pretty girl or whatever? Yeah, you don't do that anymore. Either you take the lead or you get left behind. Nobody is going to take your hand and lead you through life anymore. Story 45. Being stuck in life, feeling like you stagnate while others, such as friends, seem to go through life just fine, while your life is messy even though you are trying to keep it together. I have been having issues with finding a job for a long time, although I live in a highly developed country in Europe, but nobody knows that I am jobless. I keep acting like I am okay when I am with my girlfriend and with my friends, but the fact is, I am completely lost, while others seem to have pretty good luck in their lives. Story 46. You are responsible and accountable for what happens, and this often includes how others feel about it. Story 47. Be true to yourself. Stand up for yourself. Take care of yourself. No one will truly care about what you want or how you are feeling. That said, do not go through life as a selfish person. It is possible to find your purpose while helping others. Just do not let others take advantage of you in the process. Story 48. I think there are a few things. The speed of the passage of time. You're going to blink and realize how much time has passed that you have nothing to show for if you're not careful. Or worse, you won't appreciate what you have because it's become normal, even though you've made so much progress from where you started. The dull grind of existence. You may get caught up so much in keeping your head down and stepping forward that you lose sight of how far you've come and where you're going. I look back now at over 25 years in my industry and can't believe that I don't have much to show for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for what I have and I've done well compared to a lot of the world, but it's been a grind and I'm not who I was when I started, for better or worse. The grind takes a lot out of you, everything if you let it. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and know when to stop. Comparison is the thief of joy. The longer you let your life run out, the more you realize how consistent tiny choices impact it. Your career is the source of so much. Money, stability, emotional wealth, or poverty. But you have to fight to make it good. You can coast or work hard, but neither guarantees good or bad outcomes. If you're not planning it out and getting good advice from a mentor, you're basically winging it. There will come a point when you look up and wonder how someone younger than you has exceeded so much of what you worked so hard for, faster than you. You need to manage and really think about where you derive your happiness from. Our society does not teach or reward that well. My grandparents were poor farmers who lived through the Depression and worked hard every day. Had they done things a little differently or had slightly different attitudes toward investing, they could have been rich beyond their wildest dreams. But they valued hard work and risk avoidance and didn't reap the outcomes they could have. They passed those attitudes on to their children and then to me. You don't even realize the impact of past generations in your family and the people who raise you, or at least until you start hitting a point where it feels like there's not much you can do about it. Hindsight is a double-edged sword. Story 49. Midlife crises are difficult because, in my case, your brain repeatedly reminds you of many unpleasant memories from your life while blocking out the positive ones. Story 50. Not processing or addressing your upbringing and emotional maturity, especially if you had a challenging or complicated upbringing, leaves you wondering why you go through life angry or frustrated or struggle with various forms of relationships and emotional connections with people in your life. You might also avoid engaging with hobbies or passions you enjoy and have difficulty finding connections that way. Being an adult can be isolating. Building community and understanding yourself and the human experience goes a long way. Story 51. When you suddenly need more than 4 hours of sleep, it comes quickly and it hurts. Why do I feel terrible all the time? You can do it for 4 to 5 days and then you lose a whole Saturday. Story 52. In every loaf of bread you are eating the crust. Sometimes I do not even think about it. I just go to the bottom of the bread box to find the leftover bag with the 2 crust pieces. Story 53. My testicles ache and no one can do anything about it. Sometimes my doctor says testicles just ache. It is part of being an older man. Story 54. Like me, you have been told that many people on social media who seem to have wonderful lives actually have the same problems and concerns as you. As you get older, you realize that those platitudes are not always true, and that many people who seem to have better lives than you really do, meaning you may never measure up. Story 55. My back really hurts badly. My job is physical, so I just have to deal with it. My wife knows about it, but she does not fully understand. If I had money to go to a doctor, I still would not have the time. This morning, when I woke up at 3 a.m. for what looks like a 16-hour day, everyone in my house was fed and sleeping. I was on the living room floor stretching so I could work another shift without breaking down entirely. This is my daily routine indefinitely. Story 56. I am 38. A lot of guys I work with my age are just lonely. I have maintained a good core group of about 10 friends. Some live in other states, so we hang out online. Others are local. My advice for younger men is to maintain those friendships. Be the person who plans events. Be the one who texts the friends to jump on Discord. Even if they cancel last minute or leave you on read sometimes, keep doing it. You will all be happier for it if you develop habits to hang out when you are not roommates or seeing each other every day for school. Relationships require work. That is true romantically, professionally, and with friends. Story 57. How can you look in the mirror one day and suddenly realize you are no longer a child, but rather a balding man with wrinkles who needs to go to bed because he has work in the morning? Story 58. The bitterness that grows within you over the years, the feeling of being left out or overlooked many times. That is what I am reading here, both openly and between the lines. Do not become bitter. It will only get worse and will show on the outside. Then you will be truly alone because no one wants to deal with a bitter and grumpy old man. Story 59. By the time you are ready for a good diet and being in great shape, you are probably already past your physical prime. Story 60. I see some great answers in this thread and a lot of general life knowledge. I want to add that despite some harsh truths, the reality is we are a lot more in control of our lives than we believe. The choices we make today will build our tomorrow, so choose wisely. If you are not where you want to be, take small steps in the direction you want to go. Eventually, you will gain enough momentum to see major changes in your life and in yourself. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is set in stone. There is always what you are seeking or need out there, seeking you. Inaction is a choice. If you refuse to choose for yourself, life will choose for you, and it might not be what you want at all. Story 61. The quiet, unacknowledged expectation that you are to be everything to everyone except yourself. Otherwise, you are selfish. Story 62. Being the last line. The responsibility stops with dad. The wife and the kids want a new dog. You are going to end up the one feeding it and walking it. The wife wants the house painted. She says she will do it herself. Yeah, right. It is on you when she gives up after buying $1,000 worth of paint. When the power goes out during a snowstorm, who is going to go outside and set up the generator? That when the kids decide to start playing baseball, who has to learn the game despite never even being in Little League? That when the wife wants to start a new diet, who has to support her and eat kale? That no matter what it is, dad is the one who cannot fail. Mom can fail because dad will pick up the slack. Dad cannot because mom has already thrown in the towel. Story 63. The carefree, fun-loving woman you marry is not always the same one you raise children with and grow old with. Circumstances and priorities change, and this can affect attitudes and relationships. Story 64. Feeling your brain slow down, your body becoming less durable, your vision fading, all while doing your best to not let it show on the outside and feel weaker for the sake of being a man and protector. Story 65. Reading this thread made me realize how fortunate I am. I have experienced many of the things these people complain about, and I see all of it completely differently now. Story 66. Those events that scar you, the deaths, the betrayals by loved ones, the inevitable realization of irrelevance. No one cares. No one will be there when you need it most. You will have to come to terms with the horrors trapped in your head in your own way. This could also be said about the joys. You will be able to share some of them, but the ones that really matter to you will fall flat on others. Some are consumed by the bitterness that brings. Some are crushed by it. Some brush it off. How and if you deal with it will define you. Story 67. 1. Realizing my body doesn't work or heal the way it used to. Seeing younger people easily outperform me in sports was hard on my ego. 2. Accepting that I am essentially a hardworking provider for those I love. I have learned to embrace this role and find joy in it. However, my parents, my wife, my children, and my sisters frequently ask for help. When I reach out to them, they worry and become stressed, which drains my energy. I have found it best to stay quiet and handle things on my own. Story 68. I don't think people realize how many men put themselves on the proverbial back burner once they are married or have children. They prioritize the needs and happiness of their family at their own expense, often living their lives with their own happiness and needs unmet or undercut. Not to say women do not, but it is on a whole other level, in my opinion. Story 69. The transition between college and the working world is that nobody, siblings, friends, sometimes parents, cares what you do anymore. Youthful enthusiasm and passion fade in the face of callous indifference. My sisters no longer ask me about any of my interests, and it makes me wonder what they mean when we say, "I love you," as goodbye. Story 70. Not getting what you want out of life, not getting the job, girl, opportunity, or respect you think you deserve. Story 71. Sometimes the mission of being the role model, the provider, the strong one is really just an endless string of tasks. I find some days I feel more like a soulless machine ticking things off a list. There is an expectation to keep those checkboxes full, which I find can get exhausting. Story 72. The fact is that when you start working, you are effectively on a treadmill running until the day you die. Meanwhile, you have mosquitoes sucking blood out of you, such as taxes and bills. If you are lucky, you get a few bloodsuckers you actually care to support, like your family. Your entire worth is characterized by how well you can keep running and how many mosquitoes you can feed before you eventually die. Story 73. When you realize there is likely nothing after death and you wasted your potential doing a job you hate and did not pursue your passion. Story 74. That macho voice at the back of your mind tries to convince you that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. To paraphrase John Mulaney, you bottle it all up inside, and then one day you will die. Find friends and a partner who do not think emotions are a sign of weakness and feel free to let yourself be human. Story 75. I think younger men underestimate how much pressure is involved in being a provider. I provide financial stability for 6 people. Myself, my wife, my 2 children, my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law. I have no idea what they would do without me, but my wife and mother-in-law both have histories of homelessness before my wife and I started dating. This makes the prospect of losing my job much more intense than it was when I was single. There is a heavy burden resting on my shoulders, and I would not want to make that known to my children, especially. I strongly support women being financially independent, primarily for their own sake. It would be horrible to be stuck in a relationship you do not fully want because you cannot financially leave. But also for my sake, because I do not want financial dependence on me to factor into why she stays. I am very much rooting for my wife to gain more financial independence. She also contributes enormously to the household in a way I would really struggle to do, which I know because I have spent some time playing that role. She carries a lot of weight too. We are both carrying our weight. Part of the problem in my case is the burden of her mother and brother, but even without them, I think the financial pressures of providing for a family, especially children, is something they can scarcely prepare themselves for. Story 76. The quiet accumulation of failures, along with anger that the man does not understand. Story 77. A constant conflict with just wanting a break from being a father. I am going through a lot with my 14-year-old son, and the desire to escape sometimes is overwhelming. Yet, you feel selfish for the thought even crossing your mind. On my way to work this morning, I imagine just driving right past work with no destination in mind. I hate myself for it. Story 78. As men get older, we become more isolated. It is ironic because most older men are eager to have meaningful friendships with other men, yet we often reject the idea of actively trying to find a friend. I am over 50 years old and realized several years ago that for the rest of my life, the only people I will spend time with or have conversations with are my wife and son. If a man my age approached me and said, "Hey, I am looking for a friend. Do you want to hang out?" I am not sure how I would react, despite wanting that connection. Part of me might think, I am not going to hang out with some friendless stranger. Move along. There is an unspoken stigma around men wanting to connect with other men in meaningful ways that do not involve sports or hobbies. Story 79. How hard losing someone you love is. I am not even talking about a romantic partner. Calling this guy my best friend does not even come close to describing him. He was a brother to me. He died in a car accident almost 5 years ago, and I still break down from time to time. Grief never goes away. The life and experiences around it may grow and make it seem less significant, but it is still there. Story 80. The first time a friend from your childhood overdoses, which statistically you will have at least one by your late 20s. Nobody brings it up, and you are mostly expected not to bring it up. That pain stays. Story 81. Things you think are the most important right now likely will not mean anything to you anymore. Your life is not going to go the way you hoped. Your plans are going to fall apart at the worst times. If you ever rely on anyone completely, just get ready for them to pull the rug out from under your feet. Story 82. The first time you show vulnerability to a woman and then she uses it as a weapon against you in a fight, the pain and lack of trust it causes will stay with you forever. I am just now, 30 years later, showing my vulnerabilities to my wife of 12 years. She is shocked at how much trauma and pain I have been secretly feeling and hiding. Story 83. The fact that you are probably depressed and have not realized it for most of your life because you thought people are supposed to deal with everything. From job disappointments and breakups to friends starting to ghost you, and wondering why it all feels the same and bland, as if your emotions are dull around the edges. Get a therapist and the right antidepressants, the correct kind after trying the options given to you. Life will start to feel bearable again. Trust me. Story 84. When you reach a certain age and have coworkers, all men have to pretend to like baseball. It is sad, but it just comes with the territory. Story 85. I am 29 years old. For me, it is seeing all of your friends and family getting married and having children, while I am still single. Story 86. Emotional support. Society tends to prioritize the emotional needs of women and children, which is great, and I am glad they get it. However, it leaves men in awkward and silent suffering as they grow up. As children, our emotions are taken seriously, and we are allowed to be emotional, but as adults, our emotions are often ignored or even demonized. I believe this leads to much of the frustration experienced by men in today's society because we go from being heard and cared for to suddenly feeling like outcasts on an emotional level. It is frustrating not having anyone listen to you, and even more frustrating to feel like you have to bottle everything up until it finally bursts. That said, I feel like I was screaming for help as a kid and was ignored, so I am not sure how accurate all that is. Still, I believe I received some support as a child. Now, if I show too many emotions, I am avoided, which really hurts because I am a very emotional person. I even cry when I see roadkill. I start thinking about how the animal probably had a family and how that family will miss them but likely will never know what happened. That is heartbreaking. Story 87. No one is coming to save you. You are replaceable. Your feelings are irrelevant. Your job is to provide. If you cannot do that 100% of the time, then get out of the way. Story 88. The desperation of an escape, or at least a reprieve, from the job, illness, loneliness, commitment, and so on, that they are, in a way, bound to. You do not see it until you are there and pick up on it from those who share the same signs. Men's Mental Health Month was overshadowed by Pride Month. Take care of yourselves, champions, and God bless. Story 89. The fear of letting your purpose die is not some mundane biological need of survival, provision, and death, but what you are actually put on this earth to do. I encounter many men who feel like their purpose was stomped out at a young age and now see themselves only as tools, not people. I believe we all have something we are meant to do, and we should ask ourselves what we can do to keep it alive. Story 90. Loss of people near and dear to you could be a sibling, parent, or other relative. It could be a friend or a significant other. There are some people in your life that you can never replace. People from your childhood, adolescence, or young adulthood. When they are gone, they are gone. No matter how much you love and cherish someone new, they will never be quite the same. More mundane, but many men do not see a dead or even declining bedroom marriage coming. Very few men these days get married if they and their soon-to-be wife are not compatible in bed. Without being judgmental and considering all the reasons and excuses that wives may have for turning off the love light, the loss of reasonably frequent sexual activity while stuck in a situation where you are not allowed to seek it elsewhere is brutal. The constant rejection, living in hope and dying in disappointment, the arguing and fighting, the begging and pleading, the feeling of being used, the sense of injustice of being told to work on your game and wooing skills when you are already married. The toll rejection takes on your self-confidence, sense of self-worth, and feelings for your spouse. Ultimately, the sense of being trapped, especially if there are children involved or if divorce is not an option for other reasons. Story 91. I would say chronic pain was never in my head growing up. Even when I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis at 17, I was unaware of chronic pain. Then I became disabled at 43. Story 92. Realizing that most people only respect you based on how you look, what you do, and what you have. Take those away and watch your world shrink. As a result, you have to play the game, going after all these things that elevate you in those ways with the pretense that you need them to feel good. But deep down, it is just your need to please the world around you. Story 93. Not exclusive to men, but people dying. Youth fades. People go down different life paths. Accidents happen, and people you have captured as youthful memories full of potential die. Story 94. I would not call it suffering necessarily, but when you are young and only have to take care of yourself, you can take risks. When you have a family that depends on you, you need to think about things like, if one of us loses our job, do I have enough saved? You go from devil-may-care to super cautious quickly. Story 95. Men often are not allowed to grieve or experience and process trauma. We just have to keep going and act like nothing happened. We are expected to just be okay. Story 96. Being replaceable. My wife of 6 years left me in June of 2024. In May, we were fine. We had the first serious problem of our entire marriage, and she ended it within weeks without really making an effort. Within a week, she was sleeping with someone else. In less than 6 months, she had moved on to the third new man, and a month after that, she moved him into the house. It will be a year since our separation in a couple of weeks, and this new man will have been living with her for almost 6 months. Too many people view men as having no permanent value. You are either doing exactly what they want or they will find another man who will, and quickly. Story 97. A lot of men carry the burdens of other people, yet those people would never carry that man's burdens. A classic example is a man with a wife or girlfriend who relies on him for emotional support but shuts him down every time he expresses his emotions. Some relationships are naturally one-sided like this as well. A good father will support his young children, but they are not there to hear him vent. Between all this and the sacrifices men make for work, family, and other similar duties and responsibilities, many men end up surrounded by people but completely alone, silently sacrificing their needs for people who do not even notice. In really difficult cases, the people around him are so oblivious to his sacrifices they treat him with contempt because they think he is living an easy and carefree life. If he is struggling, they criticize him for it because they just see it as laziness or a lack of care. Story 98. After you have children, at least in my case, I am now at the bottom of my wife's list of importance. Sometimes I just wish we were 18 again when I meant the world to her, and she showed it. At least my children show me love. Story 99. Being the sole provider during the early childhood years and feeling too tired to play with your children, then being criticized for it by your spouse. Story 100. I personally struggle with putting myself first. I would rather put myself in a tough spot than see the people I care about struggle. I know I can handle difficult situations mentally, and I have been through worse. I often tell people that no matter the situation, it could always be worse. False motivation is better than none, in my opinion. If I seem motivated, others might find the strength in themselves to work harder and push through difficult situations. Story 101. Being needed by everyone but understood by no one. As you get older, people expect you to be strong, reliable, calm, and in control even when you are falling apart inside. Your pain gets ignored. Your effort becomes normalized. And your struggles? You are expected to handle them silently. No one checks on the man who has got it together. But the truth is, many men do not. They just get better at hiding it. That silent pressure builds. If you do not find healthy ways to deal with it, it starts leaking out in other areas. Anger, withdrawal, burnout. Younger men often think being a man means being tough. But the real challenge is carrying the weight without ever letting it crush you, while still showing up every day for everyone else. That is the part no one warns you about. Story 102. The decline of your body after your 20s. The existential pain of aging affects many men more deeply than they admit. I know it threw me for a loop. Story 103. Being single and lonely. I feel that whenever I express the sadness and pain it causes me, I am considered weak and a crybaby. Story 104. Losing the community and the closeness you had with many friends in your early 20s can be difficult. After I moved to a new city, I made local friends, but they are all in relationships and only want to hang out in real life with the group once a month. My close, longtime friends all live more than 2 hours away, and the loneliness is sometimes unbearable. On average, I see friends of some sort maybe twice a month. Story 105. Quiet? Pretty much all of it. Men are not permitted to be sad or down in their circumstances. If this does happen, it is met with contempt. Take this so-called male loneliness epidemic. Forget empathy. It is seen as yet another reason to be critical of men. They are scolded for being inadequate. Empathy is for women, children, and pets. Men must shut up, grin, and bear it. Story 106. Loneliness, especially after a divorce and if you were the primary financial provider. You will still be expected to work hard, but your relationship with your children will never be the same as the one they have with their mother. In essence, your primary value is working at a job you probably dislike and converting that energy into money you do not see. It is a burden millions of men carry, and in general, they have given up on complaining because nothing will change. Story 107. All my close friends and I moved to different parts of the country chasing work opportunities. Unless I personally put in the effort, I will not see a single person outside of work ever. You can very easily be forgotten. Story 108. Being weak in front of your wife could destroy you years later. Almost always, if she is insecure, scared, narcissistic, menopausal, or angry with you at some point. Story 109. Grief could be from a breakup or a death. It is not just a man thing, but you have to keep on going. However, that is a burden that does not easily go away. Story 110. Being undesired, unwanted, unseen, and feeling absolutely unloved. As a young man finding a woman, you receive all the attention, the looks, the treatment, and the love we all deserve. After some years, even the way you breathe makes you undesirable. Your own children, whom you love 10 times more than yourself, will only show affection as long as you provide. The worst part is that society knows this exactly, yet men are still made fun of for it. There is no one you can turn to. Story 111. The sheer amount of expectations placed on you. People expect you to perform in all aspects of life. How replaceable you are, both at work and in relationships. And of course, the fact that besides your family, nobody really cares. It is expected that you can handle things on your own. Most men have no one to lend them a helping hand. Story 112. Since I got married and had only one daughter, I have handled the finances, home repairs, barbecues, vacation planning, rental car driving, driving us everywhere at home, car repairs and maintenance, and ordering food at restaurants for all three of us. That's a total of 25 years now. Sometimes, I just want to relax and let my grown daughter or wife handle all of these things. I want to be the passenger, not the driver. However, no matter how many times I try to get them to take the lead, they do not want or know how to do these things without my input, involvement, or guidance. They have seen me do all these things over the years, yet neither has tried to learn or offered to handle them. It gets tiring to always be the one who manages everything. All these equal rights, women's independence, and gender equality movements must include equal responsibilities. But when I say, okay, go ahead and take care of things while I relax. Let me know when I can just grab my things and get in the car. They prefer to be the passenger. So much for equality. Story 113. When intimacy stops for no clear reason and you have been together for a long time, you cannot simply walk away. Love her unconditionally, but remember that I have needs. Story 114. If you are going to waste your life living for someone else, do not act surprised when it turns out that they did not value your life any more than you did. Story 115. Life will go badly, that is its natural state. No one is going to come and rescue you. Fix it or live with the regret. Story 116. The inability to share how you feel because it will make you appear weak or not in control. You know that question, what's up? Are you okay? And the standard response, nothing, I'm okay. Nothing wrong here. Story 117. I do not think this is exclusive to men, but perhaps more men tend to do this. Pushing through the stress of work, social life, health or lack thereof, and the demands of maintaining a household, whether chores, bills, rent, or a mortgage. Eventually, it catches up with you. It is okay and entirely appropriate to say, I do not have the capacity for that, whether it is at work, with friends, family, or your partner. Self-consciousness often plays a big role, along with the unrealistic expectations we place on ourselves or that others place on us. Breathing, resting, and being thoughtful not only keep your mind sharp, but also support your nervous system. Anxiety can manifest in strange ways, both physical and mental. The sooner you build habits of true rest and self-care, the better. By rest, I do not mean playing video games for hours, drinking on the weekends, or running 6 miles a day to clear your head. Those can be enjoyable, but I mean real rest, time away from stimulation, allowing your nervous system to truly reset. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.